Hello there. Welcome to this special broadcast on One India. And you're also watching it on Good Returns and One India Hindi because this is a simultaneous broadcast for something that not just India but the whole world would be watching with bated breath. Why so? It's an interim budget that Nirmala Sitharaman, the Finance Minister of India, would be presenting today. And needless to say, it is all important because there are elections this year. 2024 also means Lok Sabha elections in the biggest democracy on this on the earth, and also what implies what is in the box, what is in that Bahi Khata that Finance Minister would be speaking out today would be something that people would be watching out on this broadcast today. In the run-up to the speech by the Finance Minister, we would be joined by eminent panel of guests, also my colleagues from One India, both in Delhi and Bangalore would be joining us, and we would be getting you the live visuals of the developments happening right outside the Parliament, where by now the budget copies would be placed for all the MPs. And needless to say, it's a wet morning here in New Delhi. Has been raining since last evening, and we will have to say whether this pours down some water, cold water on the aspirations of the people, or it stands tall on the expectations of the people as a populist budget, as we have seen normally in the course of an upcoming general elections in a country like India. Beginning with my colleague Shruti Sarkar joining us all the way from Bangalore. Shruti, well, I see you have already donned a beautiful sari. Needless to say, Nirmala Sitharaman too would be, flaunting one. And what we have seen in cases of an interim budget, the Lok Lubhavan part, the populist part is always, being worked upon. What is your gut feeling on something that would be unfolding in 2 hours' time from now? And how do you see this budget coming?
Sure. Thank you, Pankaj. So we will have the interim budget. It will be presented by our Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in a few hours. What is important is this is just an interim budget. It's vote for account, and the full budget will be presented by the new government shortly after the Lok Sabha elections. The whole world is keenly watching India's budget because India has remained under a bright spot in the global economy, growing more than 7%. And while the developed countries are actually struggling. So we have already set our eyes to become a $5 trillion economy. Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said we will be the third largest economy in the world very soon. So it will definitely focus on growth prospects. The IMF has also revised our India's growth rate to 6.5%, revised it up. Apart from that, it is expected that our fiscal deficit will be, the fiscal deficit target will be reduced by probably a 0.5, 0.6 percentage for 2024-2025. We are all set to probably achieve our fiscal deficit target of 5.9% this year. Right. Apart from this, I think the other focus will also be on capital spending, capital expenditure. We have increased it last time to 37%. We increase a little bit more. We expect an increase of a little bit more, but it will be a moderate increase probably.
Right. In a metropolitan city like Bengaluru, Stuti, if you may throw some light on it, what is the general mood of the public? What are people expecting? This is a Thursday, a busy Thursday for all the corporates there, but still, somewhere down the line, be it an interim budget, but it also holds a lot of importance for the corporate sector. How are they responding to it?
Most tax-paying, IT service, IT corporate people are expecting some kind of relief, either an extension in their tax slab or some kind of relief for the corporates. But if you ask me, the government will probably focus more on the agricultural sector, the rural sector. There may be some kind of welfare scheme about farmers that can be announced or extended. We have spoken about the Suryodaya scheme that is also in focus. So because it is an election year, I think the focus will more be on agricultural sector, the rural sector.
The rural sector, obviously, and also, if I may add here, the biggest vote bank also, one would say. Mithali Nikore is there with us. Mithali Nikore, economist and founder, Nikore Associates, and Mithali can be reached at Mithali Nikore and at NA Econ team. Mithali, well, the big smile that is there on your face, and we wish that it continues after the budget also. But help us understand why is it important as of now for a country like India going into elections, riding high on people's aspirations. We have seen the government promising a lot of the Amrit Kal concept, be it the tax structure that at times we have seen being revised during the elections. What is it that a common man like you and me can expect from this budget?
Good morning, Pankaj. And I think today it's not about common men's expectations. Today it's about common women's expectations. This budget is going to be a Nari Shakti budget. And I can say that with confidence, because if you look at the developments literally of the last week, you would get that indication, because it started with Republic Day, when we had such a fantastic display of women's empowerment, women-led development. And the Prime Minister throughout last year has, brought in this clarion call of women-led development. And Nari Shakti for Viksit Bharat at 2047. Now, what we are seeing in the last, 2 weeks, as I've been interacting with a lot of policymakers as well, is that there is a clear policy direction for increasing women's participation in the workforce. We had an industry pledge just 2 days ago where CII, FICCI members, as well as 4-5 other industry associations, almost 1.5 lakh entrepreneurs, big and small, took a pledge to increase women's participation in the workforce.
Right.
This happens, there's also an expectation that the government will come in with some supportive policies, looking at the care economy, looking at a digital divide, looking at maternity benefits, and all of this might require an increase in the gender budget. So I do think that will be a big focus. Other than that, I really believe that MSMEs is going to be a big focus, because MSMEs are really the beating heart, of the country.
Backbone, yes.
And we have, for many years, what we've seen is like with COVID and with, even the post-COVID recovery, MSMEs haven't been able to come back to that post-COVID, sort of level that we expected. So there is definitely a thinking, within the policy-making, community, that MSMEs need that benefit, some of the benefits. And I hope that, even now it will be announced and they will not wait till July to announce some of those suggestions.
Right. Mithali, since you have mentioned, and I will come to your points one by one here, women power. Yes, you're right when we talk about, the kind of prominence the women contingent and the women participation in the Republic Day parade was concerned. Also, I remember distinctly the picture of Narendra Modi visiting a person's house, a household in Ayodhya, and then the Ujjwala gas connection. And very fondly said that they have reached a 1 crore number, and she was the 1 crore recipient. Do you think that the pro-women programs like Ujjwala Yojana, like tax benefits, like free rides also, be it house registration benefits that have been given in, have been one of the core issues when it comes to BJP's vote bank? Because we saw this happening in the case of 2021-2022 Uttar Pradesh elections, where Yogi Adityanath came to power riding on women voters.
Absolutely, Pankaj, this is exactly what is playing out. When we see the ground situation, there is a huge support amongst women voters for this government at the center. But at the state, of course, the dynamics are different. But if we just speak about the center, because that's the election that's going to come up right now, definitely there is an appreciation. And it started, during COVID, when the 500 rupees per woman were given in the Jandhan account. And we spoke to so many women, on the ground for our research at Nicor Associates. And we found that they had actually received the benefit. There was no corruption in that benefit. There was no intermediary taking that money away. It reached people, and that was a big thing for the women at that time. A lot of self-help groups got additional loans, again as part of the COVID package that helped them ride through and not shut down. So then, of course, there are many stories of distress during COVID, and no one is denying that. But the ones who did survive mentioned that the government support was one of the biggest reasons why they were able to survive. So
right, absolutely.
It has translated.
True. And Mithali and Stuti, these are the visuals on the screen of Finance Minister leaving her office at the Finance Ministry and heading to the Parliament. And obviously, as I mentioned, it's a wet morning here in the national capital. The umbrellas are out, and so are the expectations. How far does this particular budget stand tall on the expectations of the people is something that remains to be seen. But nonetheless, this is something what, Mithali, if I may tell you, the atmosphere in the newsrooms across the country, be it the national broadcasters, radio stations, or for that matter, regional television and newspapers alike. This is something that is a kind of celebration, if I may say so, for all of us in the expectation and the run-up to the all-important budget that is being presented. Mithali, talking about your role and your company, how crucial it is for, if I may say so, for Nicor Associates, taking it an example, that the aspects, be it that of a startup, be it that of a corporate, be it that of manpower handling, what are the key aspects that you would particularly watch out for so that it helps you and guides you in a better way to run a successful entity like Nicor Associates?
Firstly, thank you for calling us successful. I don't know what is the metric of success. If it is profitability, then maybe not. But at least in terms of intellectual capital, we seem to be doing very well. Touch wood. But on a very serious note, one thing that really matters as a woman entrepreneur,
right,
is there some sort of a scheme that I'm able to get access to? For example, personally also, I am considering, can I go for a startup scheme? Can I go for the Stand Up India scheme? Am I eligible for these schemes? Because as a very young startup, it is often important to get that initial boost and a small amount of grant funding from the government or a small amount of a loan which is concessional, because at the end of the day, when you go to any financier, particularly in the field like policy advisory, which Nicor Associates is in, then those come with strings attached and saying that, I want you to maybe look at this perspective or that perspective. Whereas if you get a government funding, then that's very neutral, and it is more like an incubator kind of a funding. So I really think that if we have something like that, an announcement for women entrepreneurs or for small entrepreneurs of any type,
right, Mithali,
would be helpful.
Yeah, Mithali, I'll have to quickly draw the attention towards the visuals on the screen. This is the photo op that we are putting on the screen. As of now, the finance minister with the Bahi Khata, with the budget in her hand. And a lot of things have changed, over the years since Prime Minister Modi took on the reins of the country. Is now, be it the halwa ceremony, it's a very distinct approach towards it. And now the budget, which was initially, we used to see them in a briefcase, and that now comes with the emblem of the government of India and packed comfortably in a handbag, Bahi Khata sort of scenario there, which the finance minister shares in the Parliament. Mithali, stay with us. Shruti, Bangalore once again, since you are there. Mithali was talking about the startups ecosystem. That is something that is the expectation. And not just that, a startup wouldn't be successful individually. It has to have its subsidiaries, the clientele that it has like Mithali mentioned, for her policy making, she needs her clients also to be equally successful so that she can, attend to them, she can cater to them. How important it is as of now for a developed setup like Bengaluru to have a robust budget in place. And while on one hand, the rural sectors are of great importance, but the taxpayers, once again, who would be residing in the metropolitan tier 1, tier 2 cities, how important do you see this budget to be for them?
It is very important, especially in cities like Bangalore, where we have startup culture everywhere. I think this budget is in focus. Everybody is waiting for it to get some kind of tax benefits. Also, let me reiterate that most startups are also becoming sustainable. We are, hearing this phrase about sustainable economics, green energy, net zero, achieving net zero. So we are, these startups are actually expecting that they will get some kind of tax rebates if they move towards green energy, if they move towards sustainability very soon. So that is the talk of the town as of now in Bangalore. Everybody is glued to the screen from the morning. While I was coming to work, I saw the people who are rushing to their office to actually start watching the budget online and pre-budget copies, stories.
Right. We would be playing out the sound bites also as the business fraternity is speaking. And these are the visuals being played from a week back, the traditional halwa ceremony. There you see them. And Finance Minister there leading from the front. Once again, the customary proceeding. But with her team, these are the men and women who make the budget possible for a country as big as India. The volume itself is something that one would take note of. Clearly, Mithali, now talking, about the guarantee. This budget itself, we have seen Prime Minister Modi speaking at several occasions saying that ye Modi ki guarantee hai. The political guarantees are one aspect and the economic guarantees are other. We have just come out of a very severe COVID bout. And the year 2020, 2021, and in fact, as close as 2022, the impact was palpable. What kind of booster shot can be expected, irrespective of the fact that it is an interim budget or a budget in the election year? What are the, I would say, measures that the government could, in a way, induce in order to give the much needed relief to the COVID affected entities?
Absolutely, Pankaj. I mean, exactly as I was saying, the MSME sector is one, but then we also have, this entire gamut of welfare schemes, which are very different from freebies, but these welfare schemes, which are investments in our country's social capital, social and human capital. So on one hand, you have the education-related schemes. You have, the Samagra Shiksha scheme, which brings together, education from class nursery to class 12 under one scheme. And then you sort of invest in that scheme and you sort of bring it to a point where, improving the quality of schools, improving the quality of educational institutions. And secondly, you have the health sector. And the health sector is really one where through the Jan Dhan, this Yojana or the Bima Yojana, you really have again a booster shot, to the economy, to the common person, so that they are able to access, better healthcare, better, health insurance, especially amongst those who do not have the affordability and do not have the capacity to purchase, private sector insurance and, get that kind of care. They can get best of care in private hospitals through the, health insurance schemes of the government. So I really think that, increasing the budget around these existing schemes, which are there in education and health sector, can be a very, powerful way for the government to convey even now that, look, we are looking out for you and we are investing in the social capital of the country without introducing a new scheme. Because, of course, as you said, in an election year, might be difficult to introduce a new scheme in the health or education sector, but still, they already have very strong existing schemes which can be given a boost in this budget and signal to the common person that we are investing in health and education.
Right. Those are the key aspects, definitely. Key sectors also, education and health is something needs a very, I would say, guided approach here, because something that, we would always see as the backbone of any economy, because until the subsequent batches and generations are not impacted. Mitali, I think I would leave you here because you have to shuttle through a lot of news channels and digital medium. Thank you so much for speaking to us. We'd love to hear from you as always, and we hope to see you again in the days and months to come.
Thank you. Please keep calling me. I'm very happy to come.
Indeed. Trust me. I mean, One India, once again, you said whether the company is successful or not. I wanted to say that you are on One India. You are successful.
Thank you. Happy budget day. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Shruti, now before we play out some sound bites of the people's expectations, I wanted to know from you here that the impact of any event like a COVID, or for that matter any adverse developments, finds a lot of its impact on the middle class. You are living in a metropolitan city, and thousands of people who have left their homes behind and have come to different cities. What is the expectation of those people who are working in a different state, in a different setup altogether? Maybe try and support their family from a different state altogether. Why I'm asking you this? Because the barriers of the state, or for that matter the companies, diminish when it comes to a setup where digital payments are in vogue, whereas Prime Minister Modi's emphasis on how best the digital setup, the digital ecosystem can be set up. So in that scenario, when you come to the office, when you work with your colleagues, when you go back home, everything that plays out, no matter it's Bengaluru, yet a lot banks on what is in the bag that Finance Minister is carrying. So what are the expectations on that regard?
Let me tell you something, Pankaj, that when we faced Corona, the whole world kind of struggled. And India emerged as not only one of the successful countries who came out of a recession economically, but also we actually avoided a humanitarian crisis, which a Pakistan or a Bangladesh or Sri Lanka could not. Even now, inflation is skyrocketing in Pakistan. There was a huge humanitarian crisis in Sri Lanka, but India as a whole, from Corona, we have only risen. So even now we are the fastest growing economy, and Mr. Macron from France was here on the Republic Day, and he saw how we are using the UPI payments, be it Google Pay or Paytm or anything. It's so easy for us to just sit at home, use UPI. I can assure you that in other big developed countries, including the United States, things are not that easy. People still struggle to order things. So what I'm trying to say is that, people who have settled in big metropolitan cities, the only thing probably I think the middle class taxpayers who are away from home are looking at is, savings and some kind of relief, taxes, increase in slabs, things like that.
Right. Shruti, thank you so much. Time to say good day to you here, but I'm sure the newsroom gets busier as we inch closer to that 11 o'clock moment when Finance Minister speaks in just a moment from here. Thank you, Shruti, for speaking to us.
Thank you, Pankaj.
Abhishek A. Rastogi, partner at Khaitan and co joins us here. And Abhishek, thank you so much for taking time out. It's a big day, I can understand. And before we come to you, let's hear out very quickly what the people of metropolitan cities like Noida, Delhi had to say. Just a quick reminder for our viewers that we will be bringing the live broadcast also of Finance Minister's speech from the Parliament. So stay tuned for that. And by that time, we take a very quick look at what people like you and me think as far as the budget is concerned. And then we come back and speak to Abhishek A. Rastogi.
थोड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट किया जाए एजुकेशन पे ताकि फ्यूचर के लिए जो जनरेशन है हमारी वो अच्छे से पढ़ाई कर सके। बजट के लिए हम
Abhishek, I think it's just a 4-minute look that we have played, and then we
के दाम बहुत ऊपर जा रहे हैं, थोड़े कम कर
But I am not partner now with Khitan and
काफी
Co.
ज्यादा मतलब जो
Now
ये सबकी बढ़ी है, लेकिन उस सबसे अर्निंग नहीं बढ़ा है।
सरकार जितना हमसे टैक्स ले रही है उतना हमें रिटर्न भी करे।
कोई भी टैक्स पेयर अगर प्राइवेट जॉब में है वो 20 साल से टैक्स भर रहा है तो गवर्नमेंट उसके लिए क्या रिलीफ कर रही है?
महंगाई से मिडिल क्लास फैमिली जो है त्रस्त है, तो हम चाहेंगे कि जो टैक्सेशन बढ़ने का जो चांसेस है वो ना बढ़े।
Yes, many anticipations, many things to come. But what exactly is what the people are thinking about it? What do the people want? Do they want subsidies in EV? Do they want more investment in culture, defense, or what? In this episode, we are just going to find out only that. Sir, आपकी क्या specific expectations हैं इस बजट से कि आप लोग क्या चाहते हैं?
सैलरीड पर्सन हूँ तो मेन फोकस तो मेरा टैक्स सेविंग के लिए ही है, प्लस थोड़ा एजुकेशन सेक्टर पर थोड़ा ज़्यादा ध्यान दिया जाए क्योंकि अभी जो हमारा टोटल बजट है उसमें कुछ परसेंटेज जो एजुकेशन पे डाला जा रहा है, जो इन्वेस्ट किया जा रहा है वो कम है। थोड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट किया जाए एजुकेशन पे ताकि फ्यूचर के लिए जो जनरेशन है हमारी वो अच्छे से पढ़ाई कर सके।
बजट के लिए हम यही सोचेंगे कि मिडिल क्लास पे थोड़ा ज़्यादा फोकस करा जाए और पेट्रोल के दाम बहुत ऊपर जा रहे हैं वो थोड़े कम कर दिए जाए।
इन्फ्लेशन बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ रहा है तो एटलीस्ट कुछ भी ऐसा करे गवर्नमेंट की काउंटर करे कि जो इन्फ्लेशन है वो कम हो, क्योंकि आप अगर देखोगे तो कोविड के पहले और अभी के बीच में काफ़ी ज़्यादा मतलब जो प्राइसिंग है सबकी बढ़ी है, लेकिन उस सबसे अर्निंग नहीं बढ़ा है।
यार बजट से तो ये एक्सपेक्टेशंस है कि सरकार जितना हमसे टैक्स ले रही है उतना हमें रिटर्न भी करे, एज इन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में उतना रिटर्न करे। बहुत सारी चीज़ें ऐसी हैं जो हमें लगता है एज ए सिटीजन कि वापस हमें रिटर्न नहीं मिल रहा। हेल्थ केयर सर्विसेज हो गई, एजुकेशन हो गया, नए इंस्टीट्यूशंस हो गए, मुझे लगता है उनमें इंक्रीज़ होना चाहिए क्वांटिटी में और क्वालिटी में भी। जैसे टीचर्स की बहुत ज़्यादा कमी है और जो स्टाफ्स हैं वो उतना वेल ट्रेंड नहीं है।
कोई भी टैक्स पेयर अगर प्राइवेट जॉब में है वो 20 साल से टैक्स भर रहा है तो गवर्नमेंट उसके लिए क्या रिलीफ कर रही है?
बहुत से भारत में ऐसे गांव भी हैं जिसमें विकास अभी नहीं हुआ है। बहुत से ऐसे शहर भी हैं जहां दिखाई गई है वो टॉप मोस्ट सिटीज हैं, बट उसमें भी कोई ऐसी जगह हैं जैसे नोएडा ही टॉप मोस्ट में आती है, बट खोड़ा की गलियां देख ले काफी कम्पैक्ट है।
महंगाई से मिडिल क्लास फैमिली जो है त्रस्त है, तो हम चाहेंगे कि जो टैक्सेशन बढ़ने का जो चांसेस है वो ना बढ़े।
क्या लगता है आपको कि किन चीज़ के दाम बढ़ाने चाहिए सामने से कि उसका बहुत मिसयूज हो रहा है? आपको लगता है कि इसके ऊपर अब थोड़ा सा लोग इसको कम लेना स्टार्ट करें, तो इसके ऊपर आप क्या चाहते हैं कि किस चीज़ के दाम ऐसा लगता है कि बढ़ने अब शुरू होने चाहिए?
एक्चुअली मुझे लगता है कि जो जीएसटी की स्लैबिंग है ना वो खुद में ठीक नहीं है उतनी। मतलब कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें हैं, मैं मानता हूँ वैल्यू एडेड चीज़ें हैं जो कि उनका जीएसटी स्लैब बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें जिनका स्लैब नीचे होना चाहिए जो नॉर्मल हर डे यूजेस पे है।
So what do they think that Finance Minister should be speaking in favor for some relief? Joining us on the broadcast is Abhishek A. Rastogi, founder of Rastogi Chambers. Abhishek, thank you so much for speaking to us. I know it's a rainy morning. Whether it is going to rain sops or not in this election year from Finance Minister, we'll be keeping a close eye on that. What are your expectations and what are you hedging your bets on?
See, I think these announcements will be more from the structural perspective and laying down the roadmap for next 5 years. And there will be certain key announcements because few sectors will get the clarity of what will happen in the next 4 to 5 years. And there are certain announcements which we feel will be also with respect to PLI schemes. And there will be announcements with respect to customs duty swings on about 40 products. Now, what will happen is that the import of these products in the days to come will become expensive. And hence, today, the Indian manufacturers will have to decide to set up these units in India. These could be electrical items, these could be other items, but I think the emphasis of these announcements will be on the point that we must now depend more on indigenous manufacturing. And that's, I think, will be the key to watch, because there will be customs duty swings on about 40 products is what we understand. There will also be announcement with respect to certain FTAs, because India will now be having into bilateral trade agreements with several countries, with several key strategic countries. And hence, in such a scenario, it will be important for the businesses to watch out very, very clearly that which countries are our strategic partners. So I think it will lay a good roadmap for the next 4 to 5 years.
Indeed, Abhishek, also हम ये जानना चाहेंगे आपसे यहाँ पर कि when we talk about international collaborations, when we also referring to FDIs, किस तरह से एक favorable atmosphere दिया जाए foreign companies को यहाँ पर काम करने के लिए, also how India projects itself and sells its commodities outside, वो काफी important रहता है. आपको क्या लगता है कि अभी के सिनारियो में बजट में जहां तक fiscal prudence का सवाल है, इंडिया के internally how things have changed since, if I may give you a figure from 2019 to 2023, आपको क्या लगता है कि सिचुएशन बदली है, बेहतर हुई है, और now we can expand our wings to the outside world also?
देखिए, हमारी अभी जो सिचुएशन है वो बहुत बेहतर हो गई है आखिरी 5 साल में. And when we make that statement, we are making that statement with numbers. If you see the tax to the GDP ratio, it has now gone up to 6.11%. It is not only that. The number of income tax payees in last 1 year have increased from 3.8 crores to 7.78 crores. And the tax collection has also increased from 6 lakhs to 16 lakhs on the direct tax side. Even if you see the indirect tax collections, the GST collections, जो number आए हैं कल भी, वो भी 1.72 crores है for a month, जो कभी 1 lakh crore होता था. So now what happens is, we have built this stage. The foundation is laid. The tax collections are robust. Tax buoyancy has improved. Now what has to happen is that the money has to be spent appropriately on capital expenditure, and hence we expect that there will be 10% incremental announcement for capital expenditure. It may go from 10 lakh to 11 lakh. At the same time, the government, because it is not because this is the election year, but because now we have robust tax collections, there will be certain announcements for the lower income group. And we feel that the direct benefit transfer scheme will be announced from 6,000 to about maybe 9,000 rupees. Because today, the finance minister is in a much comfortable position to do so.
Absolutely. Abhishek A. Rastogi there, founder of Rastogi Chambers, speaking to us and also breaking it down how the government, किस तरह से सरकार अभी इस बार allocation कर सकती है. Definitely, Abhishek, आपने जैसा कहा कि इलेक्शन ईयर है जरूर, लेकिन कुछ जो चीजें जो सरकार को अभी भी ध्यान में रखनी पड़ती हैं, ऑब्वियसली जो फैक्टर्स आपने मेंशन किए उस पर नजर रखनी होगी. अभिषेक, मैं आपसे और जानना चाहूंगा कि कुछ अगर हम अर्बन सेक्टर्स की बात करें यहाँ पर, चाहे वो बात हो AI की, चाहे बात हो सिविल एविएशन की, और या हम बात करें इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की, उस मामले में आपको क्या लगता है कि सरकार का अभी तक जो रवैया रहा है, जो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स रही हैं, have they been able to bear the fruit? AI एक ऐसा माध्यम है, हमने देखा था प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी और प्रेसिडेंट बाइडेन की जब बात हुई थी तब भी AI अमेरिका इंडिया की बात आई थी, वो भी एक तरीके से बून फैक्टर साबित हो रहा है. अभी एक डेवलपिंग सिनारियो में क्या देखते हैं आप, क्या उम्मीदें हैं आपको इन टेक्निकल और डिजिटल सेक्टर्स के लिए?
देखिए, मैं इसको 3 भाग में आंसर करूंगा. जी. पहला चीज है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. अर्बनाइजेशन के लिए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर गवर्नमेंट का कीन ध्यान है, और गवर्नमेंट ये चाहती है कि जो बड़े मेट्रो सिटीज हैं हमारी, उनको आसपास 100 किलोमीटर के दायरे में सबसे कनेक्ट करा जाए. जी. एंड हेंस इफ यू विल सी इवन NCR, the infrastructure development which is happening is hats off, be it road, be it metro, be it these trains, etc., and even the bus services. So I think infrastructure will remain the key, because what will happen is the moment the infrastructure is better in that radius of 100 kilometers from these metro cities, there will be lesser pressure on the city per se. So I think, and there are lot of these projects in terms of the infrastructure which are bound to be completed, which are time bound and are to be completed in 6 months. And I think that will happen. The emphasis will remain on that. The second aspect will be solar. आज घर घर में अगर हम सोलर एनर्जी को यूज करें, सोलर को इतना सस्ता बना दें, इतना यूजफुल बना दें, इतना कन्वीनियंट बना दें कि जिन भी लोगों के इवन फ्लैट्स तक हैं वो भी एक छोटा सोलर पैनल लगा दें अपनी विंडो के ऊपर बाहर और थोड़ी भी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेट कर दें, तो देश को बहुत फायदा होगा. जो हमारा क्रूड ऑयल इंपोर्ट करते हैं हम उस पर भी फायदा होगा और बाकी और चीजों पे भी फायदा होगा और एनवायरमेंट को भी क्लीन करेगा. सो आई थिंक एनवायरमेंट रिलेटेड, सोलर रिलेटेड भी अनाउंसमेंट्स इसलिए होना बहुत लगता है, जरूरी लगता है कि ये ऐसे होंगे. तीसरी चीज जो आपने पूछी वो मुख्य चीज है और इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है अबाउट आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस. नाउ इंडिया नो एंड आवर प्राइम मिनिस्टर इज वेरी वेल अवेयर that if India has to grow, India cannot shun technology. India at every stage today is ready, prepared to, learn for new technology, to adopt new technological methods. And hence, जो tech companies हैं, fintech companies हैं, artificial intelligence हैं, artificial intelligence एक की ऐसा पैरामीटर रहेगा जो आगे आने वाली कंपनीज को, कोई भी साइज की कंपनीज हो, उनकी एफिशिएंसीज को बढ़ाएगा. तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि नेक्स्ट 2-3 years में इंडिया इज नॉट कोपिंग अप विद द ग्लोबल मूवमेंट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस. वी वांट टू बिल्ड दीज कैपेबिलिटीज हियर इन इंडिया. हाउ मच इंडिया विल पार्टिसिपेट, हाउ मच इंडिया विल बी एबल टू डू इट इंडिजिनसली इन नेक्स्ट 5 years will decide that how much ready we are for new technology, how at what cost we are adopting this new technology, and what are new innovations which are happening in India and are adopted, and hence making India a global hub for technology and artificial intelligence, so that we sell these solutions to outside of India rather than importing these solutions and paying royalties from India to outside of India.
Outside, well, very pragmatic and prudent approach there, Abhishek, I must say. And before I come to Rastogi Chambers and also try and understand, and our viewers would also love to benefit from your expertise, I wanted to ask you one thing. As we are speaking, there has been, increase in LPG prices in Bengaluru. Could be in that Bengaluru pocket or could be in Maharashtra itself. Irrespective of the fact that, what the state government's role is or what the center's role is as far as the inflationary measures are concerned, बजट के साथ दो चीजें बहुत इमीडिएटली जोड़ दी जाती हैं. एक होती है टैक्स स्लैब्स और दूसरी होती है इन्फ्लेशन. हालांकि अगर सिंपल टर्म्स में कहा जाए तो इन्फ्लेशन यानी मुद्रास्फीति को इम्पैक्ट करने वाले बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स होते हैं जो कभी कभार बजट से रिलेटेड या डिपेंडेंट नहीं होती हैं. हेल्प अस अंडरस्टैंड अभिषेक कि इस तरह की जो एक धारणा है जो कि people like you and me could have this grouse कि अरे महंगाई बहुत बढ़ गई है, महंगाई बहुत बढ़ गई है, इस चीज को ध्यान में रखते हुए भी कैसे सरकार से जो हमारी उम्मीदें होती हैं कितनी खरी हैं और कितनी सही हैं?
So I think that's a very pertinent question, and everybody who would be watching the budget keenly will also watch the impact on the pockets. Now what will happen is, with these robust tax collections which the finance minister has in her hand, it is quite possible that rationalization of certain taxes may happen. For instance, customs duty rationalization has to happen from the perspective of Make in India perspective. So there will be increase in customs duty on several products. But in the long run, it will help the country because domestic manufacturing will increase. It may be not viable for certain products to be imported if these duties are within the WTO frameworks but are increased. So that is point number one. The second and most important thing which idly people are looking today is to reduce the indirect taxes on the basket of supplies which happens, be it services or be it goods. So it may not happen, unfortunately, in this budget. But yes, there can be an announcement for the rate rationalization of two slabs, which are 12% and 18%. Now with robust GST collections, the government may think of clubbing these two tax slabs of 12% and 18%, and it will help two problems. One, the classification disputes which industry is facing will end. Secondly, somewhere 18% the consumers feel is a little higher tax, because 18% on every service or goods is not a very tax which would be feasible for every pocket.
Right.
It will come down to possibly 15%. Now, if that happens, then some of these items from 12% will also come to 15%, but 18%, where significant items are, could come to 15%. And if that announcement happens, a significant part of the inflation is also addressed, because it reduces the consumption. It makes the consumption cheaper by 3% straight away. So I think that is the announcement which will be beneficial both from the consumer perspective and the industry perspective. Now, as far as the direct taxes are concerned, there could be certain announcements with respect to the income category of middle class, because the government and the finance minister, and again I'm saying not because this is the budget year, the finance minister will have it in her mind that she needs to increase the buying or the purchasing capacity of the middle class. And if that has to happen, some benefit has to be given in terms of investments, in terms of insurance policies, the tax rate, the GST rate on insurance policies, which are important supplies to the middle class. Now, if these become a little cheaper, there will be direct impact on the middle class income group, and they will be able to save more money, invest more money, and use that saving to make more purchases. So I think that will be the overall perspective of this budget today.
Right, Abhishek, I know it's a busy day for you, for your firm also. Before I let you go, please also tell us about Abhishek Rastogi, a professional, an entrepreneur, and also about Rastogi Chambers. How do we reach out to you? And also, what is it that you specialize in, apart from, the economic aspect of the whole budgetary calculus?
So I am a chartered accountant and an advocate, but I focus more on the constitutional issues. So whatever issue it is, whether these are tax issues, fiscal issues, land disputes, personal liberties, we focus on these issues. We also do few work which is pro bono, which is good for society, because at the end of the day, we want, our country to become a better place. So we are in the process of, representing a lot of such issues, filing PILs for the society, for common good and purpose. So we do all of that. This startup is about 15 months old. But what has happened in these 15 months is that most of the clients, the top clients, have shown a lot of interest in the way we are building the practice. So today we have HDFC Bank, HSBC Bank, Subway, Aditya Birla, IOCL, Lakshmi Organics, and you name, I have more than 100 listed companies as my clients. And our principle is very simple. Client first is what, we always put as a principle. Litigation sometimes is very expensive, and our endeavor always remains to close the matters as soon as possible, get the closure, get the result. So with the result-oriented approach, a lot of clients are now approaching because they believe in our principle that we need to close litigation. The art of closure is important, and that's what we've been doing.
Well, and that is something that people and clients would look forward to, the art of closure, and that's why Rastogi Chambers comes handy. Abhishek, thank you so much for speaking to us. We love to, have it and hear it from you more in the days and months to come. Until then, have a good day, and please do watch the budget. I'm sure you would be keeping a close eye on that. Abhishek Rastogi there from Rastogi Chambers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, as the clock ticks, we are approaching closer to the time of 11 o'clock when the finance minister would be speaking in the parliament, the budget, interim budget 2024. And I also spoke to one of the noted economists a short while ago, Professor Santosh Mehrotra, and he has been part of the Planning Commission, has been very instrumental as far as the skill development and job creation is concerned. Let's hear it from him. What are his views on the budget 2024?
My expectations are very significant, but I fear that those expectations are unlikely to be realized because the government is far too focused on the elections. But so at best one can tweak certain things. The biggest thing that I would expect at the current juncture is if industry could be better encouraged to engage in vocational education and training. I wouldn't necessarily expect the government to allocate more money, but at this juncture, just to allocate the littlest bit which would bring employer and industry engagement in skill development. It's not enough. Every country in the world, Brazil, China, Germany, Korea, countries which have very robust vocational education and training systems, they have very, very active employer engagement in the pre-employment training system. And in addition, they have very active apprenticeship systems. Now, despite the existence since 1961 in our country of what has been called the Apprenticeship Act, and a very welcome change or amendment in the Act carried out by this government in the last 8 or 9 years, there has been some increase from 250,000 apprentices to about 500,000 apprentices in the country. But that still is a fraction of the number of apprentices the country needs. So my ideal expectation, if you ask me, Pankaj, my ideal expectation would be, they should really make apprenticeship into a right of every young person. Because young people are not being able to join jobs despite their and because they have very poor employability skills, because the pre-employment training is not preparing for them for the labor market, and the labor market is very tight despite an economic recovery.
Right. Absolutely. No, you're right when you say that the young workforce should be well prepared, not just mentally, but also skill-wise. Do you believe, Professor Mehrotra, that, and I'm just asking you this as a curious parent also, that the apprenticeship or for that matter, skill development should start somewhere from the schooling days also? Is it possible? There are lots of talks about NEPs, which involved involvement of languages. But why not maybe try this capacity building program here?
No, we already have it, Pankaj. Since 2014, we had made sure that when we wrote the base document of the National Skills Qualification Framework for the then Ministry of Human Resource Development, we provided for an option of vocational education course being taken up by a youngster who makes the transition into secondary, meaning into class 9. So 9, 10, 11, 12, you have had for the last 9 years vocational education option. My ask would be of the government that it should become a stream. What is that? What is the stream? For instance, in China, vocational is a stream, while general academic is an alternative stream. So after completing, so for instance, after completing 9 years of general academic compulsory education in China, children take an exam, and then half of them get streamed into vocational and half remain in the general academic. And believe it or not, believe it or not, the vocational children actually receive a stipend, which the general academics do not when they enter the senior secondary. So in other words, the vocational is actually incentivized. That's why they have such a skilled labor force, Pankaj. It's very important for our government to recognize that our younger, I think the Asar report has every year repeatedly informed us that our children are not learning enough. And therefore, if they are poorly skilled as well, then why do you expect them to be employable? It's absolutely critical that we begin to offer them a stream, and we bring employers into the school system. So it's not that we don't have it. So 20,000 schools at the secondary level already have it. But it's not of the quality that we want, because we will get quality only with employers engaging.
So that was Professor Santosh Mehrotra talking about what are the crucial aspects, what are the key focus areas that the government must focus on in order to have a skilled workforce that India has in plenty. हमसे अब जुड़ चुकी हैं हमारी सहयोगी गुड रिटर्न्स की ओर से भावना। बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आपका इस रोलिंग कवरेज में। हमने देखा है जो उम्मीदें अभी लगाई जा रही हैं फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर से, उसमें कई ऐसे एस्पेक्ट्स हैं जिसका मुझे लगता है समाधान होना चाहिए, खास करके तब जबकि ये एक चुनावी बजट भी हो सकता है। आपके अनुसार क्या की फोकस एरियाज हो सकते हैं और किन इश्यूज पर गवर्नमेंट को ज्यादा तवज्जो देना चाहिए?
गुड मॉर्निंग पंकज, बहुत बड़ा दिन है, चुनावी साल है, लोकसभा चुनाव इस बार होने वाले हैं। तो एक तरीके से हम लोग बोल सकते हैं कि ऑल्दो निर्मला सीतारमन ने पहले अनाउंस किया था कि बहुत बड़ी अनाउंसमेंट्स नहीं होने वाली है, लेकिन चूंकि चुनावी साल है हम लोगों को ये भी नहीं भूलना चाहिए। अगर हम बात करें तो लास्ट एक इवेंट में पीएम मोदी और निर्मला सीतारमन जी ने क्लियर ये इंडिकेशन भी दिया था कि जो इस बार का बजट है उनके 3 से 4 फोकस पॉइंट्स रहेंगे। एक हो सकता है महिलाएं, दूसरा हो सकता है किसान और तीसरा हो सकता है गरीब तबका। तो ये 3 ऐसे जो फोकस पॉइंट्स हैं जो इस इंटरिम बजट में गवर्नमेंट के रहने वाले हैं। अगर हम इसको कंपैरिजन करके देखें अब 2019 से कंपैरिजन में क्यों बता रही हूँ, क्योंकि उस बार भी मोदी गवर्नमेंट का इंटरिम बजट आया था। देखिए उसमें क्या हुआ था, उसमें सबसे पहला जो इन्होंने बदलाव किया था जिसकी बहुत ज्यादा चर्चा भी हुई थी वो हुआ था इनकम टैक्स, जिसको 2.5 लाख से 5 लाख कर दिया था। और दूसरा हुआ था कि उन्होंने स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन को जो 40,000 था उसको 50,000 कर दिया था। तो इससे इन्होंने सीधे 23,000 करोड़ की जो जनता थी उनको साध लिया था। उसके अलावा जो सबसे बड़ा हम बोल सकते गेम चेंजर रहा था वो था कि गवर्नमेंट ने निर्मला सीतारमन जी ने बजट में पीयूष गोयल ने उस टाइम पे इंटरिम बजट की प्रेजेंट किया था। उन्होंने पीएम किसान निधि सम्मान योजना को उन्होंने इंट्रोड्यूस करा था 2019 के इंटरिम बजट में, जिसमें ये था कि हर साल जो किसान है उनको मतलब कि एक स्पेसिफिक जो जमीन थी 2 एकड़ जिनकी जमीन है उनको 6,000 रुपए हर साल उनको जो किश्त दी जाएगी। तो ये इनके फोकस पॉइंट रहे थे। उसके अलावा एक टैक्स जिससे उन्होंने बहुत बड़े तबके को साथ लिया, दूसरा उन्होंने किसानों के लिए किया और तीसरा उन्होंने जो ग्रेचुइटी लिमिट थी उसको भी डबल कर दिया था, 10 लाख से उसको 20 लाख तक की लिमिट कर दिया था। अब अगर हम देखें तो क्योंकि किसानों का जो गवर्नमेंट का
It's okay. Yes, please carry on, भावना।
जो मोदी गवर्नमेंट का फोकस है इस बार भी हमें देखने को मिल सकता है कि वो किसानों के लिए रहेगा। किसानों के लिए इस तरीके से रह सकता है कि पीएम किसान जो योजना है 6,000 से इस जो किश्त की राशि है इसको बढ़ाकर 8 या 9,000। इसके अलावा क्या हो सकता है, अभी ये उम्मीद ये भी लगाई जा रही है कि जब 2019 के इंटरिम बजट में इनकम टैक्स की लिमिट को बढ़ा दिया था तो हो सकता है कि इस बार भी इसको बढ़ा दिया जाए, क्योंकि लास्ट ईयर 2023 में इसको 7 लाख कर दिया था 5 लाख से न्यू टैक्स रिजीम में। तो इस बार भी हो सकता है कि कुछ 8 लाख हो जाए या फिर बहुत सारे स्पेकुलेशंस तो ऐसे भी कि हो सकता है 10 लाख हो जाए। दूसरा जो गवर्नमेंट का फोकस है वो हेल्थ सेक्टर पे भी रह सकता है, जिसमें आयुष्मान योजना जो है हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस की उसके कवर को बढ़ाकर डबल कर सकते हैं, जो कि अभी 5 लाख है उसको 10 लाख किया जा सकता है। इसके अलावा जो गवर्नमेंट का फोकस रह सकता है वो रेलवेज के ऊपर भी रह सकता है, जिसमें जीरो एक्सीडेंट मिशन के लिए भी 11,000 करोड़ का जो एलोकेशन है वो दिया जा सकता है। उसके अलावा इस बार ये भी उम्मीद लगाई जा रही है कि रेलवेज के लिए लास्ट ईयर 2023 के बजट में 2.4 लाख करोड़ का बजट एलोकेट किया गया था, इस बार वो 3 लाख करोड़ हो सकता है।
जी, तो कहीं ना कहीं वॉल्यूम की जहां तक बात करें भावना, तो उसको बढ़ाए जाने के लिए जो है प्रयास रहता है और साल दर साल हमने ये भी देखा है, अगर हमारे दर्शकों को याद हो किस तरह से एक वो भी जमाना था जब डिफेंस बजट का एक बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा जो बजट का होता था वो डिफेंस पर खर्च किया जाता था। अब हमने देखा है स्ट्रेटेजिकली वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, एजुकेशन, हेल्थ सर्विसेज और जो अन्य सब्सिडरी यूनिट्स हैं उन पर भी उनका ध्यान दिया जा रहा है। भावना, एक और सवाल आपसे लेना चाहूंगा उससे पहले कि हम लोग शर्मिष्ठा घोष से बातचीत करें, हु इज जॉइनिंग अस शॉर्टली। यहाँ पर स्टॉक मार्केट्स को लेके आपने बहुत सारे मार्केट एक्सपर्ट से भी बातचीत की और उनका क्या कहना है, किस तरह की उम्मीदें लगाई जा रही हैं? क्योंकि मोमेंटरली तो हमने देखा है कि स्टॉक मार्केट्स बजट के ठीक बाद फेवरेबली रिस्पॉन्ड करते हैं, लेकिन आपको क्या लगता है जिस तरह का बूस्ट अभी स्टॉक मार्केट में नजर आ रहा है, तो आपके अनुसार जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं जिन्होंने आपसे बात की उनको क्या उम्मीदें हैं इस बार के बजट से?
देखिए, अभी थोड़ा सा बजट से जस्ट पहले अगर मैं एक लास्ट 1 वीक की बात करूं तो थोड़ी सी गिरावट देखने को मिली थी, थोड़ा सा करेक्शन देखने को मिला था। लेकिन अगर अब हम लोग देखें बजट के बाद, तो बजट के बाद रेलवेज हो गया या फिर हम लोग एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर से रिलेटेड बात कर रहे, रियल एस्टेट से रिलेटेड बात कर ले, एजुकेशन से रिलेटेड बात कर ले, तो इन तमाम तरीके के सेक्टर्स में एक अच्छा खासा बूस्ट देखने को मिल सकता है। क्योंकि पहले भी ये रहा है कि स्टॉक मार्केट में बजट के बाद, क्योंकि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के ऊपर सरकार का फोकस रहता है, रेलवेज के ऊपर सरकार का फोकस रहता है और इकोनॉमी के ऊपर सरकार का फोकस रहता है, जिसकी वजह से बहुत सारी ऐसी योजनाओं को भी सरकार लॉन्च करती है, इंट्रोड्यूस करती है। तो इस वजह से बजट के बाद मुझे लगता है स्टॉक मार्केट में एक अच्छा खासा बूस्ट देखने को मिल सकता है।
राइट भावना, चलिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमसे बातचीत करने के लिए। गुड रिटर्न्स की कई स्टोरीज, तमाम स्टोरीज देखने के लिए भावना इज द वन और उनकी पूरी टीम इस बार के बजट को एनालाइज कर रही है। आप गुड रिटर्न्स के पेज पर भी ये लाइव ब्रॉडकास्ट देख रहे हैं। भावना, जाते जाते मैं एक ही सवाल आपसे लेना चाहूंगा कि गुड रिटर्न्स होंगे या नहीं होंगे, इसके लिए तो हम लोग चर्चा करेंगे बजट आने के बाद, लेकिन आपने किस तरह से तैयारी कर रही है, आपकी टीम जो बैकएंड पर टीम है वो किस तरह से नजर रख रही है पूरे इस प्रकरण पर?
सी पंकज, बजट एक ऐसा इवेंट होता है ना जो खास तौर पर हर बिजनेस चैनल के लिए तो बहुत ही ज्यादा स्पेशल होता है। तो हम लोग तकरीबन 2 महीने पहले से ही हम लोग जितनी भी एक्सपेक्टेशंस हैं, अलग अलग इकोनॉमिस्ट से कनेक्ट होना या फिर हर सेक्टर के जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं उनसे कनेक्ट होना, तो वो हम लोगों ने 2 महीने पहले से ही तैयारी शुरू कर दी थी। अगर आप गुड रिटर्न्स के पेज पर जाकर भी देखेंगे तो आपको सेक्टर वाइज आपको पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन मिल जाएंगी कि क्या कुछ एक्सपेक्टेशंस है, क्या कुछ हो सकता है। कंपैरिजन आपको मिल जाएगा कि गवर्नमेंट का जो बजट रहा है 2019 का हो, 2023 का हो या फिर मोदी गवर्नमेंट के जितने भी बजट्स रहे हैं उनका पूरा कंपैरिजन मिल जाएगा, फोकस पॉइंट्स मिल जाएंगे, गवर्नमेंट को क्या कुछ करना चाहिए। इवन हम लोगों ने आम जनता से भी बात की है कि आम जनता की क्या कुछ उम्मीदें हैं, क्योंकि चुनावी साल है तो आम जनता को खुश करना तो मोदी गवर्नमेंट के लिए बहुत ही ज्यादा जरूरी है। अगर वो आगे भी आई डोंट नो कि आगे कंटिन्यू करेंगे कि नहीं, लेकिन आम जनता को खुश करना बहुत ही जरूरी है। तो आप गुड रिटर्न्स के यूट्यूब चैनल पर जाकर भी देखेंगे तो तमाम इस तरीके की खबरें जो है वो आपको डेली बेसिस पर मिल जाएंगी। और इसके बाद पोस्ट बजट भी अगर पूरा एनालाइज आप लोग देखना चाहते हैं तो वो भी आप गुड रिटर्न्स के पेज पर देख सकते हैं।
Bhavna there. Thank you so much, Bhavna, for joining us from Good Returns. Good Returns, the business page, one-stop shop, I would say, for all your business understanding and acumen on the One India network. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pankaj.
A pleasure to welcome Sarmishta Ghosh now. She is Managing Director and Chief Economist in Tandem Global Consulting. Mrs. Ghosh, thank you so much for speaking to us. And what a day here in the national capital. Anticipation building up, the budget expectations. Normally, I would say, the one aspect of it is the domestic, the kitchen household thing. And the other one, as your company, Tandem Global Consulting does, is to bring foreign clients and also to take country to the world. Help us understand what are the expectations and how does Tandem Global Consulting, it is making a difference. Yes.
Thank you so much for having me over. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. And what a day also, because it started raining suddenly. So the weather is also,
Good omen, I would say good signs.
Yes. Should be a good sign, because although it's raining, it's less colder, it's clearer. And that's what we expect, that by the end of the day, it will be clear to us as well. If it is just an interim budget focused on the election, or we can actually get something great out of it. My experience has been that whenever we think and we postulate that because this is an interim budget, this is an election year, तो बहुत SOPs मिलेंगे and it will be a very people friendly kind of a budget. Modi government does throw a spanner in words and gives us something that we were not expecting. One thing that I have not seen in the consecutive budgets of this government, this is not a government which is really scared of elections. So they go to the elections on a front foot. They will announce if they have to make announcements, they'll do what is to be done. So I do not really feel that this being an interim budget will be a huge deterrent or a very big shift from how we have seen the budgets happening, development focused. Also, a lot of new things have happened globally in the last 1 year. A lot of new, movement of funds we are seeing in the last 1 to couple of years. Sustainability has taken center stage. Green energy has taken center stage. Now we just saw it in COP. We just saw it in we did G20 presidency, and when the report of the presidency came, it spoke highly about sustainable development. That was our address to the world as well. I do not think that because after the G20 we presidency got over, this is the first budget coming after that.
Right.
So we also, I believe that we will see new impetus building up around sustainability, around green energy, and the focus will be heavily on impact investments, etc., etc. Because this is the direction the entire world is also looking at. And if you are aware, S. Jaishankarji has recently written a book to that effect, in which he is calling India as Vishwamitra. So I think we are also moving from the Vishwaguru tag to a little of Vishwamitra tag, trying to take everybody together, playing our role as the largest population bloc in the world, playing our role as the biggest emerging economy in the world.
Indeed.
So exciting times. Let's see what happens during the day.
Definitely, Sarmishta, when it comes to, and you are you have mentioned the quite Vishwamitra role that India has played very recently, rightly mentioned G20, and the message of one family, one future to the world was something that underlines the very tenets of Indian cultural existence of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. But before that, if we can go back, the term Vishwamitra, obviously, and thank you so much for bringing it up. COVID-19, that was the time when India led from multiple fronts, be it vaccine development, be it providing vaccine to countries. I have spent a lot of time in the African continent, and the way India catered to it, it was also connected to G20 when Africa Union was included into the G20 ambit. So help us understand that a budget, be it interim or general budget, for a population of 1.4 billion, what implications do you see it for the world itself, per se, first, and secondly, what India could also, take it from the world to give the world, companies, the global companies, a market, come and invest here.
Pankaj, why we'll be unbeaten why the next century belongs to us, being a young entrepreneur with ambition. Why I'll always say the next century belongs to us, because India is the only unique market which has the least codependency. We have such a huge market. We are so diverse. We can generate production for ourselves, and we can consume it in India itself, right? We do not. So what happens is, if you are a smaller economy, you have a lot of money. Even if you have a lot of money, you need to be dependent on other economies as the demand side. So in economics, there is a supply side and there is a supply side is completely dependent on the demand side. India is in a unique position that if we don't have to depend on anyone anywhere. We have not only the biggest producers market in the world, we also have the largest consumer market in the world. And that is, I think, to the global businesses.
Right.
People are coming to India. See, please understand it. There is a cost to import, the cost to export. There is a cost to trade. The always.
Right, Samishta.
It will give market, you labor, give you technology, it will help you manage better, because the finance regime is better by the taxes have become one window. So what?
Samishta, one quick reminder here. The visuals on the screen as of now that we are showing is the finance minister who has arrived the parliament. Samishta, as you mentioned, it's a rainy Thursday in the capital, but the new parliament also is, the first budget, I think, that will be presented is the new parliament. Very quickly, Samishta, we are going to play out an interview with Rupak Day on how the markets are responding and are expected to respond because, yes, the markets have opened at 9:30. Initial responses we'll have to take. And right after that, in a minute or two, we come back to you and speak further on what does it mean for India with a global face, this particular budget.
Sure.
I think the government might continue with the nation building program, like to build a nation, we need to focus on the infra. So my expectation is that government will focus on infra. So infra is a bigger part. And if we subdivide the infra, we get some sector like the power sector, like the energy, AI, modernization of railways. So the first expectation is focusing on the infra. Then I think that the government will focus on travel and tourism this time in the budget. Then if there is a possibility that there might be some pleasant surprise on tax front for the middle class. So my expectations are very simple. Focus on the infra, then focus on travel and tourism, and might be some pleasant surprise for the middle class on tax front.
Sure. So let's now change our focus from budget to, the stock market. Indian stock market has been reaching record highs in the past few weeks and probably doing better than a lot of other global stock markets. What is your overall outlook? Especially this is an election year. We will have a full budget post-election. What do you think the stock market, what is the reaction we can expect from the stock market this year, post-election?
So this year, I think in the last year, Nifty gave a return of 20%. So whenever Nifty gives a return of more than 15-16% in a year, the subsequent year Nifty remains more or less in the subdued manner. Like Nifty does not give much return or does not fall much. So this year we think that Nifty might consolidate within a range. Like we're not expecting Nifty giving breakout on the higher end in a big way. So we expect Nifty to remain within a band of 3 to 5% in the 2024. However, if we consider the long-term trajectory, we think that 2024 is going to provide a lot of opportunity to add in the stocks. Like on dips, one might interest to add stocks for next 4-5 years.
Right, so there we heard it from Rupak Day, जो हमें बता रहे थे कि मार्केट्स किस तरह से अभी रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहे हैं और हमने देखा भी है पिछले कई बजट से कि फेवरेबल रिस्पॉन्स होता है उसके दे टेक स्टॉक ऑफ द सिचुएशन. लेकिन Samishta, since you are there with us, markets already have shown a very buoyant note, apart from a few course correction that was done in the last few days. What are your expectations and impact? How do you foresee the markets, especially the foreign brands, if I may ask, responding to the sentiment here in India?
See, markets are one of the been have been on the rise. And apart from the weeks back, markets were going buoyant for a long time, and I think it will continue because what happens is, especially in terms of foreign investor, international investor, the overall political stability plays a very big role. Because see, because most of the global investors come and invest in infrastructure projects, or energy projects, and they're like long drawn projects. So if a project is like the gestation period is 7 years, then the implementation will so overall it's a 25-year-old long project. So more the political scenario looks stable. Overall, it gives a better comfort to investors to look at that economy. So not only that, India is like one of the largest, fastest growing economy. It has also shown a lot of stability in the last in the last decade in terms of governance. So we can have different views about how the governance is happening, But overall, because it's the same government under the same prime minister's leadership, and overall even the union of ministers they're pretty well known. We know the style of working. I think it will be a favorable response. This is a pre-election budget, so I do not expect some big fallout or anything even after the budget is proposed, because it's pre-election. So the markets will wait till the general elections happen. I do not see a big change happening even after the budget is prepared. And as you rightly said, every year subah to the markets are also buoyant and happy.
नहीं समिश्रा, एंड जो पॉइंट आपने रखा वो ये है पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी का. आई मीन अगर आप 2019 या उससे थोड़ा पहले ही चलते हैं, आई मीन 14-15 के भी दौर में, when the global sentiments were not in sync with India's growth story, it was the budget or elections were something that would always throw the stock market off balance. But yes, we have seen positive sentiments also coming up as far as the recent years are concerned. Political stability ke lihaz se, how important it is as of now to have a decisive leadership and something with such a great resource and talent and a huge market like India. How important, Samishta, do you believe कि इंडिया को खास करके इस दौर में जहां ग्लोबल क्यूज भी बदल रहे हैं, ग्लोबल लीडरशिप डायनामिक्स भी बदल रहे हैं, उस समय कितना इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है इंडिया के लिए एक स्ट्रांग पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप होना?
देखिए, political leadership in a democracy will always be the most key component as how overall perception उस democracy का globally कैसे बनता है. That's overall. Because democracy है, anyone who is governing the country right now is the choice of the people by de facto. Okay, so it's like this is what the people want. This is the underlying message. Unlike some other forms of governance, the people and the government might come from completely different mindsets. Correct. But in democracy, what the people want is what the governance is by definition. Okay. So if the people are giving mandate to any particular political party, any particular style of leadership, subsequently and repeatedly, it shows the mood of the nation as a whole. So overall, when you find that people are voting for stability or people are showing trust in the same style of governance, that gives comfort to the investors that this is where the country is moving towards. Now, we can have a lot of caveats to this, lot of internal agreements, disagreements, right? But I'm talking about how an investor sees it overall. Pankaj, I have been saying this repeatedly every time. Investment and investor sentiments are two very different things altogether. And investment world works on the investor sentiment. Investments have to happen, but how you make an investor feel,
exactly.
It's what causes the investments to either happen or not happen. So we have to manage both of it. One, we have to have those investable projects, returns on investment, sustainable growth, all that is there. But at the same time, what is the investor thinking? What is going in the investor's mind is also a very, very important part. And that is something that comes out of politics, policy and diplomacy, right?
Absolutely.
Where only cold number and facts only don't work. So that's why when we say we are Vishwamitra, why was this? So I'll tell you an anecdote. So I was at the book launch function when Jaishankar ji was speaking. And if you have gone through his book, it speaks a bit about G20, it speaks a bit about Quad, it speaks a bit about BRICS, which has now become very big. We have 10 countries in BRICS as well. So I took the opportunity of standing up and asking to him that, sir, what is actually our foreign policy? We are part of Quad as well, and we are part of BRICS as well, right? So actually our foreign policy here. And that's where he told me that hum Vishwamitra hain. So what I felt was that immense power that India enjoys right now. We are at that juncture where no one can ignore us. No one can avoid us. No one can bully us because of our sheer size and sheer technology. We are doing so. What we have done in technology last 1 decade is not short of a miracle. The way our digital finance has started working, the way we have taken Paytms and Google Pays and Phone Pays to the last person. The most developed economies don't have that kind of an outreach. So today I believe that we have arrived. So we can actually also have our seat firmly at the table, it will impact everything, including how the investments happen. So when you have decisive government saying that we will play and put together all opposing forces with confidence and make a better way of communicating, I think that is where we are announcing our arrival.
Definitely, definitely. And India definitely has arrived. Sarmishta, stay with us. Managing Director and Chief Economist in Tandem Global Consulting is there with us. We will come back to Sarmishta. But before that, Sarmishta, let me play out a soundbite of Rahul Garg, Chairman, National Council on Direct Taxes, SHM, and partner. Let's hear it out from Rahul Garg that what is the industry's expectation as far as this budget is concerned.
Sure.
The industry expectation is that our financial prudence in running the economy, how has that performed? It should come out very clearly. So I think this being an interim budget, everybody is eyeing at looking whether we would be able to contain our fiscal deficit. And it seems that by payment of
Right, we'll be bringing you the complete soundbite of Rahul Garg in just a moment. Sarmishta is still there with us. Sarmishta, continuing from where we left, as far as the global sentiments are concerned, there are, कहते हैं जैसे कि ताली दोनों हाथ से बजती है. आपके लिहाज से, while the world is looking up to India as of now, and it is amply clear also, you're right. As far as the role of Vishwamitra is concerned, the role of, a helping partner is concerned, part of Quad, part of BRICS, then obviously G20 presidency also. But जो दूसरा एस्पेक्ट है इसका वो है ease of doing business. India में अभी आपके लिहाज से how is the temperament, the sentiment, and also on ground level, how much have we come forward as far as the ease of doing business is concerned?
So see, maybe आप बहुत लोगों से बात करते रहते हैं, and a lot of them have cynicism also. People are supposed to be cynical. I am one of those bright people. I'm optimist. I've been eternally optimistic. But today, what I'm going to tell you, I have a solid reason to communicate it confidently. What I'm going to say. So last year, when we were at G20 presidency, I was a permanent delegate at G20, and there is a section of G20 called B20, the Business 20 forum. So I was a permanent delegate with B20. So पिछले साल एक बहुत अच्छा काम सरकार ने किया. उन्होंने मुझे अपने देश से ठीक से मिलाया from the business community. So I had the opportunity of visiting about 18 or 17 business B20 summits. So I did a lot of traveling last year, and I think from centuries it has been told to us that nothing opens your mind as much as travel. So you have to go and meet people and see. So this particular question of yours, ease of doing business. Right. I did not have the idea of how much the state governments and the central governments overall are committed to ensuring ease of doing business in India right now. I did not know. I came to know of it just last year because I started having one-on-one interactions, and I'll give you an example and you'll understand that. So with B20 I went to the Northeast. Most of the states, they were my first visits. Like Nagaland, it was my first visit to Nagaland. What do you go assuming to Nagaland? Actually nothing. What we know about Nagaland is actually nothing. We know that it is culturally rich. There'll be beautiful jewelry, tribal jewelry, and there'll be food. That's all you think. But the way, there is this government body called the Investment and Development Authority of Nagaland, IDAN, right? Okay. The way IDAN responded to us is phenomenal. And they are available. They will follow up with you. Their entire staff is. Through your channel and medium, I want to give a compliment to the people who are complimented the least. That is our bureaucracy. Wow. No, we have the sharpest bureaucrats in this country. I like amongst the other initiatives that I talk about a lot about carbon trading, which is the green initiative of how you trade carbon, and you actually generate monies out of your green cover, right? Right. I did not meet one bureaucrat, one chief secretary who was not completely aware of it, was trying to implement it, was reading reports about it. It did not take me 2 times to, I said, sir, is anything happening around carbon trading? Yes, we are interested. So what I'm seeing is a lot of people who are moving in the right direction, making the right noise. And for a state of Nagaland, in like 1 year, about 8-9 months that I have been trying to work with them, we have secured for them, millions of dollars in terms of investment, which will start happening in the, next year or whatever. So what I'm saying is ease of doing business has actually happened. Every state has its dedicated investment promotion board. There is single window clearance. Governments are going all out, both center and state, to open investments with open arms. Not only are they inviting investors, a lot of states are also doing road shows across the globe. They are reaching out to investors globally, taking themselves out, putting themselves out, open to new ideas. We just had at Yashobhumi, we had a 3 days conference which invited the investment promotion boards of, I think, about 50 countries in the world. I was a part of that. So I think these initiatives are amazing. The way they are opening up the world to India and India to the world, it will be an exciting decade to come. So,
Mr. Trust me, I mean, I can't thank you enough for actually touching upon those aspects which many a times have remained behind the curtains, talking about Northeast, talking about how the bureaucracy and the top leadership of the country is also aware of the challenges and the carbon, the whole
carbon markets.
Carbon markets, yes, that is something that not many. I mean, I remember, 5 to 10 years ago, talking about AI was something that not even the world community had even thought of, and today we are into that era. And needless to say, I mean, in the days and years to come, we have to factor in the issues, and from you we learn, and our viewers learn, that India is a significant player. In
yes. And since if we have 30 seconds more, I'll tell.
Yes, please, by all means.
See, what we always do when we talk about development, Pankaj, we think of let's do malls, let's do hotels, let's do tourism, everything, right? And what is happening in all these hilly places where you have beautiful green cover? See, it's like development ka ek price hai. So the development price is that we are depleting our forest, our natural resources, our tribal population. Correct? Why is carbon trading? Why I advocate so vocally? This is the only measure by which you can monetize just planting your forests. आप जंगल लगाइए, community को engage करिए, let them do the work, let your trees grow. And as हमारे शास्त्रों में भी बोलते हैं ना कि जंगल are children. There's this entire saying that 10 villages equivalent to 1 son, 1 tree equivalent to 10 sons, ऐसे करके. So there is a reason behind it. So let your forests work for you, for the states, for everyone. Let your do afforestation. We have great companies in the world. I'll not name them. It's not right to name the company per se, because they will have commercial interest. But there are so many great organizations which are making a lot of noise globally and putting us on the global map. I would urge more and more PPPs to happen. Engage with the rich corporate. Then another aspect where I worked a lot last 1 year and got very good responses from all the state governments is developing entrepreneurship. How you are taking the startups of a state to the next level. Every government is committed to it. So ease of doing business is also promoting business and entrepreneurship internally, not just कि बाहर से बड़ा business आया. We should support our MSMEs. We should support our startups. And they will create that conducive environment wherein we will have investors coming from outside, investments coming from outside. So I believe, that, and I think the focus is correct. The government is focused on this completely and wholly. That's my experience, my small experience.
It's very reassuring, Sarmishta, to learn from you and to understand the nitty-gritties, because many would say, and let's be very honest here, many would say कि हाँ budget है, technical होता है, हमें इससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है, बस उतने तक ही सरोकार रहता है, चाहे वो इनकम टैक्स की बात हो, people like day-to-day lives, and the member who would try to go from point A to point B. But these are the crucial aspects that you highlight on India's global role, and within the country also, how we have to look with it and be a strong player, a strong host to actually give a conducive atmosphere to the foreign investors. Samishta, pleasure speaking to you, and we hope to
Thank
speak
you so much.
again.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay,
Sarmishta
bye.
Ghosh, their Managing Director and Chief Economist in Tandem Global Consulting. Well, before we move on, Rahul Garg from SOCHAM is ready with us. Let's hear him out.
The industry expectation is that our
Arey
financial
wah,
prudence
great here.
in running the economy, how has that performed? It should come out very clearly. So I think this being an interim budget, everybody is eyeing at
Unmute. ठीक है. Right. In a short while from now, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman would be presenting the interim budget for the year 2024-2025. Whatever the election outcome is, then we have a general budget, a full budget also. A lot of firsts this time around for this interim budget. First of all, it is being presented in the newly constructed Parliament House. Yesterday only, I had the pleasure of touring that part of Delhi, and trust me, the security aspect, the expectations, the anticipation is all high. We talk about, the Reserve Bank of India, an imposing structure right there in the center of the national capital. Right in front of it is the broadcasting house of Akashwani Bhavan, broadcasting the budget also across the country. And right in front is the big and imposing parliament. Let's quickly listen into Sharda Chandra. What are, in his views, the key sectors where the focus would be on as far as this budget is concerned? Sharda Chandra.
The sectors which are in focus and which should get greater level of allocation is one, infrastructure, I think railways, defense. These three sectors have been doing quite well. And I think the government will obviously like to focus on these sectors so that the growth is maintained. And infrastructure obviously requires greater level of investment, because in case India wants to be a exporting hub to the world, and that's what the government has said, make in India and make for the world in India. Now, for that, you have to be extremely competitive vis-a-vis the other players which are in the market, like China or Taiwan or South Korea or Indonesia or Bangladesh for that matter. So the biggest problem in India is the logistic cost. The logistic cost is 1.5 times higher in India compared to the other competing nations, because the port investments are to be done, the railway freight corridor has to improve, the road conditions have to improve. Only then you can do just-in-time exports orders. So till the time that does not happen,
we are keeping our fingers crossed, Shruti, because what we are looking for is a reduction in the TDS from 1% to 0.01%. We hope that will happen, because what has happened is that this 1% has severely impacted the volumes of crypto exchanges. That is one thing that we are hoping that the finance minister implements. The other thing that we are looking for is, there's a 30% tax on crypto profits. But you cannot you cannot set it up for losses. So we are hoping that set-offs are allowed, and crypto is treated like other securities like shares and derivatives. So those are the two most important things that we have set our hearts on. Let's hope that the FM can make these small minor tweaks in the case of the crypto industry, because we are the volumes have dwindled substantially because of these two measures.
Right, sure. So everybody, including our Prime Minister, has been speaking about, India becoming a $5 trillion economy, and very soon. How do you think the crypto market will contribute to the economy?
The same way that the Infosys and TCS and the Wipros, created that IT revolution in the 90s. We are all, children of that revolution. Actually, the entire middle class is a creation of that revolution. So, India is again at that, crossroads where the crypto industry can actually provide the next, boom, as it were, to create an entirely new middle class, because the crypto industry can do a couple of things really well. One is that it removes the intermediaries. So, we are a nation of content creators. As you know, you open YouTube and Instagram, you're flooded by Indian content. And this Indian creators are unfortunately getting only, 50% to 40 to 50% of the revenues that are generated on the content. Now, crypto equalizes that. You can retain up to 98% of all the revenues that you create if you use crypto. That is one. Two is that, imagine crypto on top of an Aadhaar stack. We all know that before this government, half of India was unbanked. Now they have bank accounts, but they're still underbanked. They still need life insurance, they need crop insurance, they need loans, they need microfinance. Crypto is a force enabler, it's a force multiplier that can happen to all these underprivileged sections of society. So all in all, the crypto industry can work very well within the guidelines specified by the government to contribute to India's growth and make it a $5 trillion economy sooner than later.
We would expect, some concrete decisions, measures, etc., being taken, and see, you have to also look at the macro picture where India is today. In the entire world economy, a lot of economies in the world are struggling right now. There is inflation, interest rates are very high. A lot of countries, in the Asia region are struggling with, because of various things. I think India, is coming out as a very shining example right now. It's coming out as a very shining example of a country which is being managed very well, financially very stable and growing, and working on the right things. Make in India is a big initiative, which is helping reduce deficits and sort of making India more and more self-sufficient. So I feel that that is the theme that the budget will also tend towards, where we try to promote the core I would say the core feelings or the core sort of benefits which as a country we are working towards. So, for example, promoting manufacturing in India instead of importing. I think that is one key theme that everybody's been working on. Lot of stuff has happened around that. So that we see that going forward as we get into the budget. I think the one key area where again a lot of work has happened, and I'll go slightly into financial services and insurance as a category, is that there has been a lot of work that the government and the government authorities around insurance specifically. So just to give you a sense, 5 years back, insurance was very tightly controlled, which meant that making any changes in insurance was difficult. Launching new products, making changes in insurance policies was very difficult. What has happened in the last 5 years is, with great support and great sort of great leadership by the IRDAI and the government of India, insurance has become a very, very progressive, extremely progressive sector. Companies are now able to launch products on the fly. There is no approval required, which earlier was a long, tedious process. Now it is something called use and file, which means you can actually start selling a product and apply for a approval later. So there's a lot more, I would say, liberalization that has happened in the insurance sector also, and that has really helped. You see the growth numbers. Insurance as a sector has been growing rapidly. So I think that theme has also played out over the years, and I think as we look forward to the budget, I feel that the same theme will play out. The one area I feel, or rather two areas I feel, where India still lags as a country, and there is still a way to go compared to the more developed markets. I think first is income protection. So what by that what I mean is, in very simple terms, if today if there is a person who's the earning member of a family and tomorrow, if the person passes away because of some reason, is the income protected for the family or not? I think that is one big thing. And in India, term insurance penetration is quite low. It's improving obviously by leaps and bounds, but it still remains quite a low number. So there is no income protection available to a very, very large number of families. So that is one. And second is health protection. That's the other thing. And unfortunately, in the last 3-4 years, COVID came. Medical inflation has gone up significantly. Healthcare has become very, very expensive. So how do you protect your healthcare from a financial standpoint through health insurance? I think that is the other thing where also India as a country struggles a bit because the penetration levels are still quite low. While I think over the last few years, there has been significant growth. There is now more awareness, a lot of stuff that has happened at the insurance regulation end, which has increased this penetration, but still that number is quite low. Different estimates, but typically we see that for voluntary health insurance, the number is as low as 5-6%. Now, this is much lower than where it should be, specifically for a young economy like India, where people don't have those kind of disposable incomes, that if something bad happens to somebody health-wise, they actually will not have any money left. So I think these are the two large themes I will specifically, I hope that the upcoming budget promotes people to spend on, to think about that, protecting their income and protecting their healthcare financing. I think these are the two things which are extremely important as we go forward.
The government has been good about balancing fiscal discipline while also focusing on building the nation, right? So there will be, I'm sure, more of a focus on infrastructure, on the employment creation through agricultural sector, maybe some benefits there. And hopefully more divestment as well to kind of generate more revenue for the government. The stock market has been doing very well for the last 1.5 years. So I think that should give a good opportunity to the government to raise more money through divestment, hopefully. And I think for kind of controlling inflation and maybe also balancing that with growth. So we are hoping in terms of fintech and for NBFC sector that there will be some more liquidity enablement by the government. So that would, those are the broad things I would expect. And actually one more thing I would like to add is on the environment and green energy part. With the Prime Minister announcing the Suryodaya Yojana and trying to solarize 1 crore homes. So would hope to see some more things there as well.
If you see the past data, right, so approximately there is 8 to 10% of return every year. So a maximum 10% return I'm expecting this particular year, 2024.
Sure. And is 1 lakh point for Sensex anywhere close to your predictions?
See, if we go by mathematics, right? So if you see that it will be possible only after 3 to 4 years maximum, because every year if we see 8 to 10,000 kind of points, then it will take 3 to 4 years, definitely.
We understand that there are many, geopolitical risks. There's a war that's going on actually to the Russia, Ukraine, and Israel, Palestine. Then there are central bank which has risen, which kept rising rates because of high inflation, and there may be upside, downside risks to the stock market because stock market itself is a volatile sector. So, what, in your view, are the upside and the downside risks to the stock market, to the Indian stock market, to be precise, this year?
See, as of now, I don't think so. Is there any, kind of downside? If you see the world market, after the this Israel war or Russia, Ukraine, we did correct it to some extent, but later on, after 2 to 3 months, we definitely bounced back. Even in COVID, we did same thing. So I don't think any downside risk as of now. But yes, if we see in terms of the interest rate, if interest rate are not going to decrease, if in this particular year, then that might be the one kind of downside risk in this particular